That awful sum, 20,000 people, what we're actually hearing is that could be an underestimation of the number of people who've lost their lives.
It could be. We have to remember that more than 2 million people live in the Gaza Strip, and anyone who has seen a map of the Gaza Strip knows that it's a tiny, tiny area. And when Israel is going after Hamas, which has its tunnel network underneath the ground, under civilian areas, schools, mosques, hospitals, then this is a recipe for disaster. That being said, Israel has also been very aggressive and has also launched an extreme amount of airstrikes, mainly to basically prepare the ground for its soldiers to hit Hamas as hard as possible before it sends its soldiers in. So, of course, Israel is making the calculation that it would rather protect the soldiers than protect the civilians when it has to make a decision about this. But nevertheless, a huge number of killed, which is to be expected when you wage warfare in such a tiny area.
Jotam, seriously, as Rosie says, thank you for joining us. I sort of sensed, I know Netanyahu has sort of steadfastly said, I'm going to do what I'm going to do. I'm taking revenge and getting rid of Hamas for what happened 7th of October. One sort of feels that globally there's been a change of opinion, certainly messaging from America. I don't want to spend too long on the UN because I think they're toothless. But what I think is quite interesting is that when the UK ambassador to Israel the other day sort of said, I'm not interested in a two-state solution, which is what I think most of us have thought would be the end goal. Suddenly the conversation's about afterwards. Is that a good thing? Do you think that will focus Israeli minds on trying to do this as quickly as possible, for want of a much better phrase? Because you're absolutely right, those figures are appalling.
I think, first of all, I think that the whole discussion about a two-state solution for Israelis is very premature. Their main priority now is to get rid of Hamas. But I think what we're lacking here is a conversation about what the international community wants, what the Israelis want, and what the Palestinians want, because those three things are not the same. The international community acts as if it can impose something on both the Israelis and the Palestinians, which they're not interested in. They keep saying the Palestinian Authority should be in charge of a two-state solution. Now, the Israelis don't want that. Neither the government nor the public. The recent polls show that they have no interest in that. The Palestinians also don't want it. I can't stress this enough. Very, very few among Palestinians care for the Palestinian Authority. It's a deeply corrupt entity that has done nothing for the Palestinians the past many, many years. And if you look at the polls, most people actually would like Hamas to govern. So we're talking about these things as if the international community...
That, to me, is really frightening, and I'm glad you brought it up, because we sit here in the West and we say, surely these people don't want a terrorist organisation to run their lives. I mean, with respect, the millions and millions of dollars that they've spent haven't been spent on the Gazan people. They've been spent on creating this tunnel network to presumably put themselves in a position of strength in this situation. How can the people of Gaza want that? I don't understand that.
Again, not all of them, but again, looking at the polls, it is Hamas that's the most popular. There is a third, more neutral player, sort of, so to speak, who is his name is Marwan Barghouti, who's also in jail for terrorism. But he's actually the most popular among Palestinians to be the next leader. But he's in jail and he doesn't have a political party. So you really only have these two entities: Fatah, which runs the Palestinian Authority, which is deeply corrupt, and you have Hamas, which is a terrorist organization. And for some reason, many Palestinians see the armed resistance, as they call it, as the only solution to getting what they want. Now, you can disagree or agree with it, but it doesn't change the fact that the West and the international community is trying to impose something on two parties that nobody wants. It's extraordinary, really, to listen to it.
Look, we've been talking about this UN vote. They can't come to some kind of agreement of the wording that they're all united on, which presumably plays into sort of Netanyahu's hands. It gives him a bit more time. It would be interesting, Jotam, to hear from you. Who do you think Netanyahu actually listens to?
Very few people. There is a myth, so to say, that Netanyahu listens to the last person who speaks to him before he goes on air, which is actually apparently a true story, according to his old senior advisor. Nevertheless, Netanyahu is trying to buy time. He knows that his days are probably numbered, that whenever the war is over and there'll be an election, according to the polls, he'll lose by a landslide. So he's doing everything he can now to both cater to his ministers, the far-right ministers in his government, and to Joe Biden. He's playing this game where he's constantly trying to buy time by appeasing both, which is why we've seen him listen to the United States when it comes to allowing more aid in, for example.
So is his ultimate goal, Jotam, is his ultimate goal to defeat Hamas, or is it to sustain his own political career?
That's a very good question. That's $1 million question. We know that Netanyahu has allowed Hamas to receive billions of dollars in aid the past couple of years. It is a direct result of his policies. So he has had some sort of interest in keeping Hamas artificially alive. But I don't think we should be so cynical to assume that Netanyahu knew that October 7th would happen. He's not that far out. But he did allow Hamas to grow. So his interest is to stay in power. He's a cynical politician, and we can conclude that at this point. After so many years in power, he has dismissed threats against Israel in the past 9 or 10 months. The security establishment told him, what you're doing to the country right now, dividing it with these judicial reforms, has a direct security threat to the state of Israel. He ignored it completely. So short answer, he is absolutely playing politics, and he's trying to buy as much time as he can.